everybody, it's Oof again, and it's time to do a quick little mini review of the new series, Avenging Spider-Man, starting with issue 1. With Dan Slott's amazing run on Amazing Spider-Man, you can't ask for more Spider-Man these days. So Marvel obliged us and decided to give us Avenging Spider-Man. I was a little interested in this title initially because, well, look at the art! It's Joe Maudieria. You know, the guy behind Battle Chasers? Okay, real quick, for those who aren't really familiar with the comic world, Joe Maudieria was a guy who got his start around the mid to late 90s, primarily starting with the X-Men. His anime-influenced style was well received and it's just generally gorgeous. So he, of course, took off like a rock star and started to spread all throughout the comic world, including his run on the really well-done series Battle Chasers, which was more of a fantasy as opposed to the traditional comic book setting he was working on. Then he got out of comics for a little while, following his stint with the Ultimates. Anyway, and he did his other projects such as Darksiders. Well, Avenging Spider-Man is his return to the comic books, which is why it's such a big deal. So the question becomes, is it worth shelling out the $4 that Marvel is expecting you to pay for it? Well, that depends on your opinion. If you want to go with the fact that it's a gorgeous looking comic, then absolutely. If you're looking for a little bit more substance, then maybe not. Without a doubt, the art is fantastic, and let's be honest, that's why most of us are probably going to buy a Maudieria comic. That and his proportions with women, I guess. But besides the art, there's really not a whole lot of substance going on. It's basically just a mindless team-up with a lot of action. Well, drawn action, mind you, but that's pretty much it. And make no mistake, the comic creators are well aware of what they're trying to do here. They even go on to describe it at the end of the comic in the editorial block. Since I know you can't read the tiny text off the visuals on my camera, let me just go ahead and read it for you. Each issue, Zeb Wells and Joe Maudieria, occasionally joined by some of the other top talent from around the Marvel Universe, will be bringing some of Marvel's biggest guns together with the world's greatest superheroes here, just to start trouble, hit some faces, and blow your minds. These are comic stories the way I like them, filled with violence, crackling dialogue, and Spider-Man. Filled with violence, crackling dialogue. No, you don't need to repeat yourself. I heard you the first time. Seriously. You know, I don't want to come off as a snob or anything. It's not that I don't appreciate a good old-fashioned romp of beating up the bad guy or anything. I do. I just feel like if that's the sole purpose of your comic, why are you making us pay this much for it? I remember back in the day when we'd get Spider-Man crossovers that would take one issue to tell the story, and they were much less, and they were just as good. Why are we paying more for it now? Just because of inflation? I just can't excuse it with just good art alone. Especially when you look at some of the new 52 and stuff like that coming out these days, which have fantastic art, great stories with character development and intriguing plots, and they're $1 less. Now I say all that, but it's not like the comic's bad. It does keep up to its promise of crackling dialogue. And it is really well drawn. It's just a good, fun comic. It's not that there's a problem with the comic. It's just for what they're asking, it's kind of difficult to say that it's worth a full price. If it were $1 less, that'd be one thing, but you're charging the same price for any kind of premium issue, and I just don't think it's necessarily worth that. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a positive recommendation anyway. I say that the issue is probably at least a solid B. If you like the art and you're interested in a good, fun little comic to read, this is the one for you.